We in these streets. It's 3kingsboxing.com. Where we at?
We are in Las Vegas for the Canelo fight, 3 King Boxing. We are here with the IBF International Champion, Mr. Oscar.
All right, everybody, it's your boy Bo here, and of course, this is another 3 Kings Boxing interview. This interview being brought to you by 3 Kings Boxing. A special shout out to Wendy Richardson for bringing this together. Definitely want to appreciate this. Now, joining me today is the people that are responsible for inventing and helping create the movie, the boxing part of the movie in the TV show The Wire, Upton Boxing Gym, and giving us Tank Davis, Malik Ellis. I'm sorry, Mia Ellis, Malik Warren, and Malik Hawkins. The two good trainers right now on here with me is Coach Calvin Ford and Coach Kenny Ellis. How are you guys doing today, man?
Oh, man, we're doing good, man. We're doing good.
All right.
Beautiful day.
I definitely want to thank you guys for taking time out to speak with me, man. Because you know what? This is I actually want to talk to you two guys because a lot of fans don't understand what goes behind the fighter and what's behind the fighter. And normally behind any good fighter, you see a great fighter, there's a hella fire coach. See what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right. And you guys, both of you guys, testament to what you went through in life, transitioned into boxing in a way that when you tell somebody something, the kids got to listen to you because they know your history. You see what I'm saying? Like, like especially for you, Mr. Ford, the character Cuddy on The Wire was made after you.
With the plan.
Right. So when you, because of, your history of being in these streets, these kids got to listen to you. What is it like when you're talking to these kids and you can see that they are respecting you because they know where that comes from? What's it like for you to see that change in the kid?
We got problems too, but if we're not close to you or be able to communicate or feel you or get that vibe with you, we're not going to open up. So that's what I basically look for, is trying to get close to them and get to know them as a person. Because at the end of the day, I always tell them, when I get old, you got to look out for me.
Man.
You're saying how you supposed to respect your elders as you get older. I mean, as they get older,
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Most definitely. But here's the thing though. When you go from I grew up in Chicago, so I West Side Chicago, I know about the streets. But when you go from that hardship and then you transition it into something positive, how hard is that? Because you know what that life used to be and you know how tempting it can be for these kids. How hard is that, not just to make the change yourself, but to try to relate that to the kids as well?
It's not hard, to tell you the truth, because you got to remember, I reflect back when I was a kid. I was a bad kid. I'm keep it real with you. You know what I'm saying? So when I see them doing certain things, I can about certain things because I look at each journey as their journey, but my job is to let them know. That's just like when our ancestors used to sit around the campfire fire, they used to go hunt. They tell us the things that they went through out there. So if we start saying the same thing that they tell us about, we'll start trusting their word. And that's what it's based on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: do you find it hard to get these kids to kind of trust you, or because sometimes the fact that they came into the gym shows that there's some level of trust there?
I sit there and tell them, if you trust me in the corner, telling you what to do at the fight, you need to trust me the rest of the way,
Okay.
But again, a lot of them going to have to go through their own lessons to build that trust, to get that trust from you, you know. So, you let them go through their transition and whatnot, and they go through it and come back around. Because it's a lot of time, me and Kenny will tell them something, or Kenny will tell them something, and they come back, listening to what we was telling them. Or they start to learn from their mistakes, but it takes them to go through their transition and go through their trials and tribulations to actually to become who they're going to become.
Mm-hmm. You know what, man? That's
A
real
lot of
talk.
times, a
Go
lot
ahead.
of times the kids are coming in the store and they think it's the norm to be rebellious against everybody. They think that's the way to go. And once they learn that being mean and coming down on them so they don't have to be rebellious toward everybody, then they start opening up to you. You know what I mean? Because right now, a lot of kids don't have no structure at home, so they rebellious against not only their parents, every adult that they meet, because they wasn't taught right or wrong. They just think that's the norm.
Sometimes when you see Kenny, you'll think Kenny Muslim. You'll see me, you'll think I'm Christian. You know?
Right.
But me and Kenny makes it work. I'm the Muslim, he the Christian. But
Right. I wear the beard. And Calvin don't wear the beard, so that's why they get it mixed up. You know.
Yeah.
You know. So, but when they come around and they get to learn, and
Right.
You'll hear that because I'm more. And I'm from the street.
Right.
And and I know how to deal with the street kids because we get different types of kids in there. Sometimes they gotta remind me like, yo, we don't know what they're going through at home.
Right. It's not that I train tough. It's just that I know that some kids don't eat every meal like some of the kids can't put because he ain't eating 10 hours. So sometimes we forget that. You know what I mean? I have to remind Calvin. Sometimes he remind me about certain things. You know.
So it's our situation is unique. You know, we one and the same. You know. I always sit there and say, man, we one and the same. You know, I don't move without
when you
without me.
Right. When you watch fights on TV, you know, it's always a head coach, but when you coming out, tell. You know, you really can't tell. You can't tell who the head coach is. But just because it's the norm, we gotta say somebody's the head coach, but we both head coaches. You know what I mean? It's over who's doing this and who's doing that. A lot of coaches do that.
Both of us play our lane, and we do what we gotta do. We look at the end result. That's what we care about. What's the result?
The goal is to get the W with the. As long as the fighter win, I don't care what the coach is doing. As long as the fighter win. You know what I mean?
Now you know what? Now that's very good because it definitely seems that there's no ego tripping, and you get that a lot in today's world. There's an ego trip.
Right.
You guys have been able to figure out that balance. And speaking of balance, Mr. Ellis, your daughter Mia Ellis she's a fighter. She told me a funny story about. She told you that when she told you she wanted to make somebody's nose bleed, she said that's when it just went off for her with being in the gym.
Yeah, that was crazy. I took her to a fight when she was about 3 years old, and I took her up to the ring. When the fight was stopping, the guy's nose was bleeding. I took her up to the ring so she could see it close. And she looked at me because I wanted to, if she really liked boxing, I wanted to see the bloody side too.
Right.
She seen it. She said, "Dad, I want to make somebody nose bleed." I said, once she said that, I know she really liked boxing. Because most kids would see the blood, I'm like, I don't want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
So,
but now, how do you balance that? I know that you're her father, but in the gym, you also her coach. How do you balance that where you can shut it off to where in the gym it's I'm coach, and then where it's at home I'm dad? How do you balance that, man? That's got to be hard.
I always tell her if she gonna box, she gonna do it right. Ain't no shortcutting. And then sometimes if she acts stubborn with me, I go to Calvin, you got her for the day.
Yeah.
You got her for the day. Because I don't feel like, going to the gym.
It's like with my boys. I don't train my boys. I send them to them.
Exactly. Calvin sent somebody to me. I said, I got it. So it works. It works.
It sounds like you guys have tremendous amount of trust and respect for each other, and that's hard to find in this sport because this is a cutthroat sport. Let's keep it real. This is a cutthroat sport.
The chemistry works. A lot of times people on the outside looking in, and they don't understand that. They don't understand Calvin ways. I understand Calvin. I've been around for 20 years. Sometimes he says something, but he don't mean it the way it sounds. But I understand that. But new people don't understand that. But I understand. and vice versa. They have to understand me.
Oh man. Hey, sometimes you make my hair curl, but I be like this. I'm rolling with it.
And look, and 6 weeks down the line, Calvin looked at me and said, "Man, you was right." I said, "All you gotta do is sit back and watch." Yeah, yeah.
So
Sit back and watch.
let me ask you guys this, man. Both of you guys are very instrumental in not just Tank Davis, but you're instrumental in giving the youth something positive to do and keeping them up off the street in Boston. And I'm not Boston, I'm sorry, Baltimore. How important is it for you guys to to help uplift these young men and women in the community?
Man, it's very important because so many of them fall to the wayside because they don't have that guidance at home. So when they come to the gym, the first thing I give them is love because they don't even till they meet us. Once he gets that and they see it, then we got them. And then not everybody's going to grow up and be world champion, but the goal is to keep them in the gym until they get past that peer pressure age where somebody on the outside can get them to do something that can cause them their life. You know what I mean? And we lost something to the street, but we saved more than we lost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with my situation, it's a learning experience for myself because I remember I was one of them kids too that was going through struggles and whatnot. And my goal is to try to find the talent in them. It don't even have to be boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The main thing we want to do is we family. We want to grow together and we want to bring the best out of it. Because guess what? It's a greatness in that person. We just got to find it.
Exactly. And when it's so clear, if they don't become professional fighters and meet different people and meet different nationalities, because if you growing up in the city, the only person you're gonna meet is a black person or a white person. You ain't gonna meet a Puerto Rican or Chinese your whole life. But when you travel with us, you get to meet, different nationalities, and you learn how to travel around the world, and then you can do it on your own when you grow up and leave the gym. You can continue to travel because you know it's more than just Baltimore.
Now you know what? I'm glad you said that because I think that's important. A lot of
Their
times,
whole entire life,
yeah,
25, 30 years old, and never been outside of Baltimore.
and I think that's very important because a lot of times our kids get stuck into thinking this is where the world stops and ends is right here in this area on this block. And I think
Exactly.
through
And
boxing,
what happened?
yeah,
I'm sorry, but
and through boxing, they get opportunity to see not just the world, but the experiences of meeting other people and other
exactly.
cultures.
If you keep an animal in a cage for so long, they get cage raised. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same with people. If they stay in the same neighborhood, the same city, and don't understand that it's bigger than this, they get cage raised and they start killing each other.
Mm.
It's the same exact thing. But if there's nobody to guide you, they never get up out of it. They don't got no direction because there's nobody to help. The mother's on drugs, the father's on drugs. They can't go to anywhere for any kind of help. So they just fall to the system. And that's
Man,
what's happening.
that's real talk.
That's
That's
what's
real
happening.
talk. That's real talk, man. I'm listen, man. Look, let me say something, man. I'm glad that Baltimore have you two brothers there helping these kids and helping this community, man. The sport needs stuff like this. Why this story was important to me because the sport needs to hear this because not only is it hard for you out here as a fighter, right? But the sport needs to know that it's good coaches out here that's willing to make this sacrifice for not just the sport, but to make sure that our young kids turn out to be better people, period.
Exactly. It's not a lot of times the people look at it and say it's just boxing, but behind the scenes, it's a family affair, man. It's a family affair, and even when the gym closed on weekend, me and Calvin, we got some of the kids. We doing different stuff with them, just so we know they're gonna make it through the weekend and they'll be back next week. Because a lot of times over the weekend things happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So certain parts we
Oh,
deal
I
with,
know.
yeah, we deal with, so we have them for the next week, so they won't get no trouble. You know? But people don't see that. People don't see that. People
Okay
don't see
then.
that.
All right then. I know you guys got to get off here soon. I got one more question for each one of you guys, real quick. Mr. Ford, uh, did HBO give you some kickback for that character? Because that was really close to who you was, man.
I'm still getting checks. It ain't big checks, but I still get a couple of dollars from them when
Uh,
they play it somewhere. When they play it somewhere, I get like $2, $3 somewhere. I look at it, start laughing, but it was a great experience.
Right.
And so me and my character, we still talk to each other and whatnot, you know. And he said, man, you still, he said, like, good to say, but I'm trying to explain to him, this is bigger than me, you know, what we are trying to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a vessel for whatever the Almighty want me to do with these kids. And so far, so good. We're making a difference. Or we on a rise to see that we can make a difference with these kids if they just believe in what we do and what they are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what's up, man. And you know what? I want to applaud. Let me tell you something. I will applaud any man that can go through these streets, come up from that, realize he has to change his life and uplift his family. I will applaud any man that does that, brother. So I definitely appreciate what you're doing, not just for the sport, but for our young men out there in boxing, man. I appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that. I
All right,
appreciate that.
Mr. Ellis, I got a question for you, man. When Mia goes on and she becomes a world champion, how many cars do she got to buy you to repay you for all the years you spent raising her?
Look, she don't have to buy me not one car. I got 4 cars now, so the success is all hers. You know what I mean? I just want her to reach out and help the next person in line, the
Right,
next
right
kid.
on. Right on, right
That's
on.
the main thing, is to continue to help people. As far as I'm concerned, I done lived half my life already. Now that's my baby girl.
Hey, you
Yeah.
know what? You know what? I feel you because, like I said, my daughter's about to be 20. That's my baby girl, and you know,
Mm.
she, we talk, and there are times when she'd be like, "I don't feel like talking." I'd be wanting to be like, "Wait a minute, you gonna talk to me?" But then I have to be like, "Okay, you know what? All right, okay, okay, I get it."
Right, right.
Sometimes as daddy, you got
But
to fall back.
gotta fall back. But she don't get me wrong. She understands boxing and training and stuff like that. Because there's other coaches involved as well. So, when she fights, Calvin got to get her cut, and other coaches got to take her. She understands that. But with me, that's my baby girl.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? I also want to
Yeah.
thank. You listen. I want to thank you, man, because I know how hard it is to be a father. Actually, be a father with a daughter, and I know how hard that is. And I want to thank you because not only are you raising your daughter to be a young lady, but you're also raising her to be a fighter. You're raising her to be independent. You're showing all the things she's going to need to survive in this world. And you're showing these young fighters and these young men in Baltimore the same thing, man. So I definitely want to applaud you
Yeah.
also for what you're doing, man.
I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Okay,
thank you
man.
for this opportunity too, man. I really could let the world hear our story.
Oh, you know what? No, we're not done. We're gonna I'm gonna get a day when you guys are really sitting down and not driving, and we're gonna go deep, deep, deep. Because, like I said,
Hey, but to
I
tell you the truth, this how we raise these kids. The
hmm
other day when we was driving, I said, "Kid, hey, we still on the road with these kids, man. We
Yep.
really not. We still on
Yep.
the road with them, and that's how
20 years.
the tank, the truck, all of them came about on these roads, pound
Yep.
these roads. Let them see this country.
true, real. That is real talk. Because if kids realize it's something outside of their neighborhood, that their neighborhood is not the end of the world, they'll want to see more of that world.
Exactly. Exactly. We had a kid one time, tell him, Calvin, 21 years old, never been outside of West Baltimore in his entire life. And it's not his fault. You know,
hmm
it's not his fault. A kid can't go no further than what his parents or guardian take him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Saw a real rabbit in his life, and that's sad. That's
Oh
sad.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. You know what? That's something to hear, man. But like I said, when you guys got a day where you got like a good solid 20 minutes where you ain't moving, we gonna go deep because like I grew up streets of Chicago. You guys streets of Baltimore. The streets is the streets. I don't care where you are. It's the streets. You're gonna learn a hard lesson in the streets. The streets is the streets.
The rule still applies.
Yep.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I applaud you guys because you not only have you lived it, you've gone through it, and now you say, hey, listen, I don't want you guys to learn that hard lesson because a lot of guys don't come back from that. They get caught in the street, they stuck in the street, they don't come back from that, man. And I applaud you guys for even not even want these guys to travel down that road, man. So definitely when we get a chance, I'm gonna talk to you guys again, man. Again, I want to thank Wendy Richardson for making this happen. I want to thank Coach Calvin Ford, Coach Kenny Ellis for being here with me today. Brothers, y'all be safe and take care, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having us on.
All right, cool.
All right.
We in these streets.
And my man Bo here, 3kingsboxing.com. I'm here with my man from Chicago, like me, Mr. P. Quinn. What's going on, man?
All right, Max, EJ from 3kingsboxing.com.
You mentioned Cecilia Brackets. You mentioned Amanda Serrano. If those fights can be made, would you be willing to go up, down, meet anybody, or it just doesn't matter to you? You just want to prove that you are a tough competitor in this sport.
We've seen anything can happen, especially we know with these heavyweights.
Boxing,
Like a man. I got you. We ain't with like a man.
Yo, this 3 King Boxing here with Buddy McGirt and Train Kovalev. Today, Buddy, man, how'd it go in there today, man? What was the difference that we saw in Kovalev that we hadn't seen before?
Wilder has doubled his profile on the back of using Andy Joshua's name. I would do exactly the same thing if I was Deontay Wilder. No one else knows who he is.